This is no way to start the show today, but I am going to start it this way. Do you see the box? Do you see the framing of the shot? So on our StreamYard application, there are about 8 layouts down at the bottom, and they have been custom fit to fit the various backgrounds that we have. And so this one I have made to fit this background. As you can see that it doesn't fit the background. And so either StreamYard is playing with us, and I don't believe that's the case. So basically, if one of our hosts here at the Voice of College Football, you see them like eliminated for like the next month, if you don't see them, if they disappear off the face of the earth, if you never see them again, you'll know I've taken them behind a woodshed and beaten the hell out of them. Because I don't know how many times I have let everybody know here at the network, don't mess with the freaking windows and layouts. Good Lord. I will beat the crap out of anybody that has been messing with these things. Because I have told them 100 times. All right. On that note, welcome into the Voice of College Football. Appreciate you being here for the best discussion, debate, and analysis. What we are going to take part in today is I'm going to go through some viewer mail, unless I get calls. Of course, the calls are going to be first and foremost. But if we've got some dead time, I'm going to dive into some viewer mail, as I have seen some nothing egregious, nothing horrendous, nothing horrible, nothing that outlandish, but just some fairly ignorant comments made by ignorant college football fans. And there's a lot of those people out there. We have none of those people that ever come in the chat here. Never come in the chat here. No, that never happens, where we would ever have any ignorant college football fans here in my chat. But they do roam by the channel once in a while and leave some ignorant comments. So we may address those. I guess we're going to clear next week to get to these all-time rankings. We'll finally get to that. The Big 12 rankings, those are released. We did our all-time Big 12 program rankings. So check out the video and check out the live stream we did. We obviously need to get to the ACC, the Big 10, and the SEC before we get to the season, because once the season starts, obviously it's the season. Really, once Media Days hits, which for the Big 12 is going to be on July 8th, we're off and running, and we will be deep into 2025 and not talking historical stuff at that point. So we want to knock out all the historical stuff, including, I said this the other day, that I may just wind up a live stream here. And when I say wind it up, I don't mean wind it down. I mean wind it up, a live stream, and do one of our workshops and just go down to business, get down to it. It's not going to be the prettiest thing in the world, but I might be sitting here for like 15 hours going through the entire history of college football every season and determining who the rightful national champion is. So be looking out for that. Also, it's not too late to vote for our July watch party. So I've seen a few complaints about the watch party coming up. We had a watch party last Monday. That was our June watch party. That was the Michigan win against Ohio State in 2021. Please vote on the July watch party and then become a member, of course. Otherwise, you can't take part in the watch party. So some people have also commented that, Mark, why would you have non-members vote on the watch party? Number one, it's easier on me. Number two, they can become members before the watch party, so they can vote and then become members and take part in the watch party. So we had about 50 or 55 people watch the last watch party. We hope to double and double and double that, and we'll have like 1,000 people in our watch parties here in a few months, and it'll be a good time regardless. And so we've got 4 options. So go to the community page at the front of the channel, and you can vote on July's watch party, and we'll show those results in a few minutes. And again, watch party, all-time program rankings are going to continue here next week. And then we've got also our national championship recount. I need to come up with a good name for that. Revising history, recount, whatever it is. Basically, I'm being kind there. It's really not a we thing. Sorry, I can't take a poll, nor would I respect a lot of the results. Basically, I'm resetting history so you guys can come along for the ride. Resetting history on national championships because they are downright just freaking kind of like these layouts. They're screwed up, many of them. All right, before we get to our first call here, also have a big announcement to make. Listen up. Tuesdays will never be the same here at the Voice of College Football. It's going to be, let's say, Super Tuesday, starting with Big Ten Media Days, because we are relaunching the Big Ten Live show. Those are going to be on Tuesday. So your Tuesday lineup, get set for it starting in about a month. Your Tuesday looks like this. 4 p.m. Eastern Time, the national show right here. And then you just stay right here because at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, Corey, Brad, and myself with the Big Ten Live show. We're going to have guests. We'll do it up big. It'll be great. Okay, the Big Ten Live show, talking nothing but Big Ten, 5 p.m. Eastern Time every Tuesday. And then Corey and I will swing that right into an Iowa show at approximately 5:45 Eastern on Tuesday. So triple header Tuesday, national show, the college football show, the Big Ten Live show with Corey Brada, and then Hawkeyes Live with Corey as well. Quite the triple header. So that's coming up. The week of Big Ten Media Days is when I expect to launch that. All right, let's get to the call-in lines. Did I mention that the layout here just is driving me crazy? Hate it. Here are our options. We got that option. We got this option. We got that option. We got this option. I might go with that one. This option. That sucks. That option. That option. They've screwed up my options. This is beyond annoying. All right. It's going to be just fine, though. We got Jeffrey here to talk some college football, and because I assume nobody cares about what I just talked about.
Jeffrey, hey, Mark, how's it going?
Good.
Yeah, the StreamYard stuff. Me and Jackson have been wondering the same thing. It's it definitely has not been cooperating with any of us. So
okay, so you and Jackson, I can mark you guys off my list. Neither one of you have been playing with the layouts. Okay,
absolutely not.
Jeffrey,
we're good. You don't have to take us to the woodshed. We're good.
You spared my wrath. That's good to know. I would not want to come after either one of you. You guys are two of the best.
I appreciate that, Mark. That definitely it is a conundrum. I mean, there's so many people now part of the Voice of College Football Network. It could be anybody. We have no idea. It's going to be like a Scooby-Doo mystery at this point.
And I say that in a bit of jest. I'm only half joking, everyone. Don't go crazy. I'm half joking.
It's sad you have to make that clear on social media that you're joking, right? Like on YouTube, X. Like if you don't say that or have like a crying emoji, they think you're being legit.
Yes, Mark is threatening physical violence on people. Sure.
That's crazy.
Well, what's on your mind, Jeffrey?
I see on the show you have on the title recruiting update top 25 SEC players. So I guess I'll ask some questions about that. You came on the Alabama show the other night, which that was fantastic. Me and Jackson really enjoyed that. Definitely though, when it comes to recruiting for Alabama, how do you feel that they are doing with DeBoer? Do you think that it's like a big step down from Saban? I mean, it is a step down. I think everyone agrees with that, but you don't think it's severe, or do you think that it is a big drop-off from Saban and with recruiting for Bama?
Yeah, I put a recruiting update on the title because Leanne Herring was supposed to drop by. I have no recruiting news or information for anyone.
Okay.
The best I could do would be go to the 2026 board to see if anybody committed today. However, I will say this, that I don't believe anybody who was going to take over that program was going to maintain Saban's trajectory on the field or off the field in recruiting. However, I don't know what Alabama's ranked right now, but I keep up with recruiting. I'm not a recruiting guy, but I keep up with it. I have to, and I do because of the people that are involved here. And I think Alabama's recruiting is just fine. We're not going to know how the class winds up until December, but based on all indications, they seem to be in on 80% of anybody who's meaningful in their footprint or beyond.
Absolutely. I would definitely agree with that. Jackson pointed out on the call-in show last night that I think we're 11th in 247 sports and 8th in On3. So definitely not bad at all. It's just not number 1, number 2, number 3 anymore. It's lower, but I don't necessarily think it's all that big of a deal as long as DeBoer recruits the type players that he wants, and for the system that he's going to be running. I think that's going to make a massive difference for Alabama's success, because we saw last year it just did not work with Milroe. He did not fit the system. Hopefully, these type players that DeBoer is recruiting will be able to better suit what he wants to do, and then we'll do better out there on the field in the next few seasons. That's what I'm hoping for. I definitely think it is possible. I know the competition in the SEC is very fierce, and now the Big Ten's ramping up their recruiting. NIL's really benefited them, so it is hurting Alabama somewhat, but I don't think it's going to be like the end of the world either in recruiting. I do think we're still doing well, but it is kind of sad to see us like number 11. Hopefully that goes up to at least like 5 to 7, somewhere in that range.
Okay. So I want you to leave this conversation, Jeffrey, with a better attitude and with a better outlook on Alabama recruiting, because I'm going to point something out to you.
Sounds
You saw
great.
that number 11. You saw that number 11, right? Look at this. Look at the number 1 team in the country. This is the number 1 class in the country right now. If all you're going to do is glance at recruiting rankings, you're going to see the USC's number 1 in recruiting, right?
30 commits, though, right?
Their average player rating at USC this year is 91.8. Okay. Alabama at number 11, their average player rating is 92.8. It's a full point
that's
above
good.
USC. So until it's all said and done and everybody's got their 20 to 25 players in, USC they've got 30 commits right now. Alabama's got
fair.
12.
I definitely kind of glossed over that. I mean, that does make a difference. I mean, I knew USC had a lot of guys, but I didn't know they already had 30. That's crazy.
Alabama's per player rating is above all these teams. Ohio State is slightly better than Alabama.
Wow.
Alabama's better than everybody else we can find. There's LSU. They're above 94.
Which that will maybe go down once they get more guys, probably.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, well, that's another consideration. So that also makes sense as well. So you can't both come into play. What you just brought up, that comes into play as well, because you can't in any way. Let's say you sign the first 2 guys you commit, they commit to you in a class. Let's say you get 2 5-stars and a 4-star, and your number, but your player rating's 96. You're not going to be able to keep that up, because you can't fill out the entire recruiting class averaging, 4.8 stars. You can't keep that up. But on the flip side, again, it's weighted down by the number of commits for USC, because it's a total compilation number.
Absolutely.
So
because I was having a conversation. I was having a
conversation
with Will, and he was saying that Notre Dame, like, I want them to catch up with USC. And it's like seeing this, it's like they're there. I mean, they're doing great. It's just the amount of players, to your point. That's the only reason USC is number 1.
Yes. So, USC probably is like a number 15 class.
USC fans do not want to hear that, though. They will not agree.
Well, we'll see. I said this to a couple of USC fans when they were rolling about 6 weeks ago. I said, there is no way. I will bet almost everything I own that USC is not going to wind up with a number 1 class. And I can almost guarantee they're not going to wind up with a top 5 class. It's still a really good class. It's an extremely good class. But I would be surprised if they wind up with a top 5 class.
I think the most important thing for USC is kind of like with A&M, like keep their class. Like they've been losing a lot of quality players to the transfer portal the past few years. So it's like if they, have this great class, they need to be able to keep it in the future, even up till December. But like after next season, when all these guys have had their freshman year, like, hey, they don't need to be bolting to another program. That's kind of been the issue for a lot of these programs lately. So definitely going to be interesting to see. I appreciate the explanation because, I'm not a massive recruiting expert. I sometimes skip a lot of those things, like those extra numbers that really point that stuff out. You just kind of like look at the number and you're like, oh, Bama's 11th. But yeah, when you point it out like that, we're doing fine. That's great news there.
So, Jeffrey, since I've got you here, maybe you can take my place today and you can respond to Adam's super chat because I have to respond to this every day, which I appreciate, Adam. We love Adam. Rutgers show every Monday or Tuesday. I can't keep it straight. One of those nights. So Adam here is saying, Mark. So we'll put in place there, Adam. Jeffrey, DJ Lagway is the class of the SEC and will take the Gators to the playoffs, but Bama is loaded and could win it all. And unlike Lagway, Drew Aller has no class. I don't know if you've noticed this, Jeffrey. I know you haven't been around too much, but if you've been in any of the shows here over the last several weeks, Adam, he can't get enough of just taking shots at Drew Aller. He's
it's funny with this super chat. I love how it just kind of segues into three things. Like you start out with Lagway, class of the SEC, going to go to the playoffs. But Bama's loaded, can win it all. But then, unlike Lagway, Drew Aller has no class. It's like three comments in one. I love that. Yeah. The funny thing is, I still am cracking up at Castellanos, with what he said about Bama. So it's like, I'm not really one to really compare, quarterbacks on their class. Like, I don't know. There's a lot of people taking shots on social media these days. So I don't know much about
I don't know what Drew Aller has done to be called classless.
I don't know either. Like, he's not a bad quarterback. He just doesn't have great weapons. I don't think he's elite, but he's not bad. He's not a bad player.
Yeah, I do not believe Drew Aller to be elite. I believe that he could be elite, but he has not been elite. No, I would never say that. I don't think that there's a quarterback right this second who has proven to be elite. No quarterback in the country, in my estimation, is coming back to college football in 2025, a la CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, Trevor Lawrence, Deshaun Watson, Joe Burrow, Justin Fields, that kind of guy that already had elite seasons and then came back for another season. I don't think that guy exists. I believe that right this second, if you're going to put together talent with proven track record, that Cade Klubnik and Drew Aller are probably the two best quarterbacks. I'm not saying they're going to be the best quarterbacks. I'm saying that they've got a proven track record, but I expect Arch Manning to have a great year, Julian Saint to have a great year. I guess Ty Simpson's going to win the starting job at Alabama, most likely.
It's seeming that way. I've been a Keelan Russell guy.
Okay.
But did I freeze? Sorry,
no, you did not.
I've been a Keelan Russell guy, but unfortunately, a lot of people are on the Ty Simpson train. If Ty Simpson becomes a starting quarterback and he does well, then awesome. But I just know Russell's got a lot of talent. You also have the transfer portal problem too. But absolutely, to your point though, all of them are unproven. All these guys are unproven. They have talent, and some of them are going to break out. And there's going to probably be one or two quarterbacks that hardly anyone's ever heard of that do great. Maybe this year, Fernando Mendoza does fantastic at Indiana. He breaks out like Rourke did. Mateer at Oklahoma could have an elite season. You don't know. There could be guys that most people don't even know. But I agree that Klubnik and Aller are the two most proven guys. They're just not elite. But I agree with that.
I don't know that we've had a season recently in college football where we've had this many elite teams, the very best and expected top teams in the country, come back with unproven quarterbacks. Ohio State, Michigan, Oregon, Alabama, Texas, Georgia to a certain extent, with unproven quarterbacks.
Yeah, LSU's got Nussmeier, but we know what he is, turnover machine. So, I
I'll be
mean,
a
you
little
got
kinder
him.
to Garrett Nussmeier than that myself, but I think he's a
Yeah,
good quarterback.
that one game he had where he was like 17 of 51 for like 300 yards, and he had like 2 touchdowns and 3 picks. He just cracked me up. I'm like, what kind of stat line is that? I don't remember what game it was. I think it was they were playing.
While Jeffrey's frozen there, I'm going to
Like
comment
A&M or
that.
something. I can't remember, but it's an
Okay,
insane stat line like that.
yeah,
I'm back.
I
Sorry.
think you're being a little
I
harsh.
got a thunderstorm going.
Okay, I got you. I think you're being a little harsher, Jeffrey. I'm going to guarantee if we look up Garrett Nussmeier's stats that he never went 17 for 51. I don't know if you're a betting man, Jeffrey, but I would bet that he never went 17 for 51.
I'm actually intrigued. I kind of want to
Do you
see.
trust me on this one? All right.
I trust you. I just want to see how off I am, honestly.
Maybe 17 for 41. Maybe. I'm
I don't
usually
know. He
pretty
had an insane game though.
I'm usually pretty good at this. So we'll see if he ever went 17 for 51. That's a
I did
little
say something like that. I didn't say exact, but it is
okay.
something horrific like that. 17 for 51.
Last season, here's the stat line for Garrett Nussmeier.
22 for 51. That's it. The Ole Miss game. That's it.
Okay, well that's a
the
long ways
3
away.
touchdowns, 2 picks. I got him reversed.
That's
I was wrong.
That's a long way from 17 for 51. He would have had to complete 5 passes without throwing a pass. So that's and you gave him an extra interception and you took away a touchdown pass. They won the game.
Well, I was close. I was kind of close.
I thought you were shooting for this A&M game, 25 of 50, 2 touchdowns and 3 picks.
That's the see. I was thinking that for whatever reason I had the 51 in my head, but then also the 2 touchdowns, 3 picks. So it's those 2 games. I kind of reversed them a little bit. I still was wrong, but complete on the complete stats. But yeah, he had those 2 rough games where like moments of the game he had great plays, and then the next play just throw a pick, and that's why I'm like he's a turnover machine.
Well, okay. I'm going to defend him again here because when quarterbacks are throwing 2 and 3 interceptions with 50 and 51 pass attempts, this is one thing I'm going to guarantee as well, Jeffrey. If we went through the stat lines of every game, the box scores of every game in college football last year, I guarantee you that quarterbacks who threw the ball at least 50 times lost more than they won. If you are throwing the football 50 and 51 times in a game, that means you're behind. Usually, they were not in this Ole Miss game. They were actually leading the whole game. The Texas A&M game, LSU got out to a lead and then they blew it. But you're usually in a barn burner. You are usually your running game's not working, and it's just not a good position for a quarterback to be in throwing 50 times a game. Will Howard was not throwing the ball 50 times a game last year.
Absolutely not. He had one game where he only threw like 19 passes or something like that. I mean, it was hilariously low.
That's what you want. I know I'm talking to a young college football fan when he considers 19 pass attempts to be hilariously low, but I get that.
That's fair. I mean, I have seen the highlights of those old games where they never threw the ball. But, I mean, from my perspective, absolutely, Mark, that is low these days.
Oh, of course it is. Of course it is.
So it is pretty funny to me, though. I mean, because, like you said, I think that's what's going to make this year so intriguing is that we do not have a lot of proven quarterbacks. And I really want to see which guys do prove themselves. I do think that it is hilarious how much people are hyping up Sellers. Now, he could end up being great again, but South Carolina has this tendency to have a good year and then a bad year. So I'm not really all that confident in that yet for South Carolina. I think they're going to be good, but they did lose a lot of their defense. So it's just going to be really, yeah, I was looking at that. See, number 1 ranking, their top 25 SEC players, Sellers at number 1. That I don't know. I don't know about that.
That is a bit strong.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's funny because I did a South Carolina prediction video and I had a few comments come in that, I'm a moron. I don't know what I'm talking about. There's no way I could pick South Carolina to go 7-5. It's like they're talking about Alabama or Ohio State or Texas, that it's just unthinkable that South Carolina could ever go 7-5. Like they've strung together national championship contending seasons like year after year after year after year.
I've seen them go 4-8 a lot.
Yeah, they've had one good season. Let's calm down,
It's
people.
like Indiana, right?
They
Got to
lost
pump
their
the
defensive
brakes.
line too. South
You
Carolina
got to pump the
they
brakes.
lost 6 players on their defense to the NFL draft.
Mm-hmm.
And their
That was a
schedule
big reason
is
why they
tough.
were competitive last year in the SEC. I mean, Sellers was good, but the defense was actually solid. And you take that away, I mean, look at LSU with Jaden Daniels. I mean, Sellers could be great next year and they go 6-6.
Yeah. Yeah. We
I
know
think
how
a
good
lot of people
Clemson's
fail to
supposed to
get
be
that.
this year, and they play a brutal stretch. Let's see. Let's look at South Carolina's schedule because I know the final stretch is rough.
Kind of
And
like
you could
how
say this.
Florida's was supposed to be last year. I remember Florida's
Yeah.
schedule. Everyone was
Yeah.
talking about it, and it
Tombstone.
kind of fell apart a little bit.
Yeah, it did. Obviously, Florida State fell apart. LSU was just decent, and it didn't turn out to be quite the schedule that it was supposed to be. But this is so in the SEC they start out pretty light. Vandy at Missouri, that's no gimme, but they should be favored. Kentucky, they need to be 3-0 in the SEC.
And then
at
that
point. Then they go to LSU. They've got Oklahoma. They've got Alabama. They go to Ole Miss. They look at that 7-game stretch. Even their little bye week scrimmage game is not going to be just one that they can just mail in against Coastal Carolina. I'm not expecting them in any way to be seriously challenged. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying they're not playing the Citadel. They will have to play a game. The rest of that schedule, it's pretty strong.
I mean, when you're looking at your easiest game being Oklahoma, that's not necessarily a good thing. Definitely the rest of that is really difficult. Probably South Carolina's season's going to hinge on whether they beat Bama, honestly, because if they're beating Alabama, they're probably 9-3 or better. If they lose, then with those road games that they have at A&M, at Ole Miss, at LSU, they're probably losing 2 of those. Most likely, maybe they could win 2 out of 3, but I'd say they lose 2 of those 3. And then the Clemson game, I know Clemson struggled with them, but Clemson looks better this year. So that would be 4 losses with a loss to Bama. And then you have Missouri too. I mean, you start seeing the snowball, 7-5, 6-6, and then all that hype preseason just fades. So it would be really big for them to beat Bama at home because that's their biggest profile game that they have at Williams-Brice, because all of their other tough games are on the road. I mean, you got Clemson at home too, but I'm talking about in the SEC. All their other tough SEC games are on the road. So that's why that Alabama game is so important for them to me.
Those final 7 games could be the toughest 7 games to close a season in college football. It could be.
Absolutely. It's going to be interesting to see if some of those teams kind of fade a bit, kind of like the Florida schedule. I doubt it, though. I do have to ask you as well, if you don't mind, about I watched the Indiana video that you did, and I was really excited you made an Indiana video. It's like they're relevant now. Mark's talking about them. It's still honestly just remarkable seeing Indiana be anything other than trash. I was shocked to see where you had them. I thought like Mark's gonna be like 7-5. He's not gonna say. I'm thinking. So what made you change your mind on having Indiana be having a better season? Just Signetti fever.
So this is what happened, and this would be great for you to take part in some of this, Jeffrey, because our guy Alec over at the Indiana channel, he's been all over me. he jumped on me, and I say this in a great way. Alec is amazing. He's doing a great job. I like Alec. The Indiana fanaticism and the blind fanaticism is a little thick, Alec. It's just a little strong. Let's back it off. Because I went on a tirade about Indiana's horrible non-conference scheduling a few months ago, and then he jumped on here and he was trying to cite other teams that don't play difficult non-conference games. Like he's like, USC doesn't play anyone, and he's reading off like their worst games. They're playing, Utah State and Nevada or somebody. And I'm like, there's somebody on that schedule you missed. They're called Notre Dame, and things like that. And so anyway, we had an interesting back and forth about Indiana then. And then since he did see my prediction video, he texted me a few hours ago, and he would like to have me on the show to debate this. And he made a statement to me that it is more likely that Indiana goes 12-0 than goes 9-3. And I said, I don't know if you're a betting man, but I am up for that one. So we'll take 10 and 11 wins off the table. If they go 9-3 or worse, I win. If they go 12-0, you win.
He's not winning that. I mean, he's definitely not gonna win. I mean,
it's not the toughest schedule in the world, but still, Oregon,
it's not gonna
Penn
happen.
State, Iowa. There's just too many decent teams or good teams.
They don't have the depth. Like Indiana's recruiting so much the depth of an Ohio State. They don't have the depth of an Alabama. They don't have, the second and third stringers that can come in if an injury happens or, fatigue, whatever, to be able to battle those other teams like that. Like you play a game in Happy Valley later on in the year, even if you're undefeated somehow going into that game, which I highly doubt because they're playing Oregon on the road. But like that Penn State game, I mean, like by that time of the season, they're going to be beat up probably. Yeah, I don't agree with that. Yeah, by the way, Indiana guys do a fantastic job over there. They do a great job. But I do agree how the fanaticism is insane sometimes. I'm like, I mean, me, like I was always hyping IU. I mean, back in the old days of Tom Allen, like I was like, Mark, they're going to go 6-6 this year. It's going to happen. I see it, and they go 4-8. It's like, that's what I used to do. And people thought I was crazy then. I would never say Indiana's going 12-0. Never.
So to answer your question, because I didn't get around to answering your question, I like Fernando Mendoza. I really like him as a quarterback. I think he's a gamer. He's the type guy that does not have like high-end NFL type talent, but he's a gamer. You're not going to see it in his rushing statistics, but he's very slippery, very elusive, improvises behind the line of scrimmage, creates more time for himself. He's going to think that he has reached the pinnacle of college football after getting sacked 50 times last year. And I'm not saying that I've broken down the tape. I'm sure some of those were his mistakes, but generally he just didn't play behind an offensive line last year and still produced nice stats. He's going to feel like luxury this year. He's going to feel like he's patting the ball back there. So what brought me to this conclusion on Indiana is I like him, and that the offensive line, I think, is really good. They brought in some top-notch transfers. The guys that are staying are really good. The two backs are serviceable that they brought in, one from UAB and the other kid's from
Maryland.
Can't remember. Maryland. Oh, Roman Hemby. Yes. Who's been around forever. So he's a serviceable, good back. Been in the Big Ten forever. He's got over 3,000 yards in the Big Ten. So between those two guys, the other guy from UAB, I looked at the receivers. They bring in a couple from Tyler Morris. I did not realize is transferring in from Michigan, but I like Zach Surratt, and I like their wide. I think that they can, aside from the schedule being more difficult and the defenses being a little bit better, having to go to Happy Valley and facing Oregon and Iowa, that the offensive stats may come back a little bit, but I don't think the offense is going to take a turn for the worse. And then I'm going through the defense, and I'm like, okay, their best sack guy, Mikhail Kamara's back. their two best defensive backs, their best cover corner, their top tacklers back, Austin Fisher. And I just thought, if they maintain their health, that they should be able to navigate this schedule. And I just couldn't find an extra loss. I originally had them with another loss, but then I combed through that schedule a few times and I thought I can't really give them another loss. I don't think Iowa, Oregon, Penn State are automatic losses. Now, Penn State on the road's a highly probable loss, but I would not be. They could win that game. They could beat Oregon at home. Will they likely win that game? No, but that wouldn't shock me. Going to Iowa, that's a toss-up, but being on the road, going to be difficult. But so I couldn't after those, and those are assuming they lose those 3 games. Maybe they steal one of those and maybe drop another one.
Absolutely. The most important game, in my opinion, for Indiana for their season is the Illinois game. It's the home game, because that's going to set the tone for the entire season. You lose that game, then the odds of going 9-3 or better are very low. They win against Illinois, then you've got the confidence to go to Iowa and win, maybe.
I forgot about that.
Because that's the very next game. That Illinois game is so important.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was actually, you hit on, I was forgetting their schedule for a second. That was the game that really was triggering my thought. Okay, they got Illinois at home. They have to win that one, yes, and then that's going to cascade toward my prediction being true. Or if you're Alec, his prediction being true of them running the table, I guess.
Absolutely. I mean, because the thing is that you have those 3 easy games, like incredibly, ridiculously easy games that you did not name any of them. I love that part. I was like, I'm not even going to name them. They're so bad. It was like, okay. So, you have that, and then you have that game, and it's at home, and now Indiana's got a crowd. They've got a home field advantage now. Like there's people there. It's going to be sold out for the Illinois game. Both teams are going to be ranked. It's going to be a big game. I don't know what network it's going to be on or what time it's going to be on, because that hasn't been determined yet. But that game, that's must-see television for both teams, because Illinois is getting hyped. Like, I've seen so many articles saying Illinois is going to be this year's Indiana. And I'm like, how can they be this year's Indiana when they won 10 games last year? Indiana was 3-9 the year before. They're not going to be this year's Indiana.
Yeah, somebody out there, give us our 3-9 team from last season that's going to the college football playoff. Who is that going to be?
All these people, like all of them. I've seen so many media personalities. I'm not going to name them. I don't want to slander anybody, but I've seen them say this team's going to be this year's Indiana. This team. I just put in Indiana, like not even football, and I'll see articles for this year's Indiana, and I'm like, none of them will. Not one. Arizona State and Indiana were both incredible last year, without a doubt. Yeah. That doesn't happen normally. It rarely, if ever, happens. And even Arizona State, it was Kenny Dillingham had an extra year on Cignetti. So, it's like, the thing to me is that that's just a line people use to get clicks and to draw up conversation, because there will be no this year's Indiana. I know the rhetoric is that they're looking at a team that never makes the playoff to make the playoffs. I get that, but you can't go from 3-9 to the playoffs in 1 year and say it's this year's Indiana, because no one's going to do that.
The closest I can come up with, not record-wise, but I think Kansas has a chance. They were 5-7 last year. I'm trying to come up with somebody else. Auburn?
I'm trying to think. Yeah, Auburn. That would be crazy.
From a win standpoint, but it still wouldn't even feel the same because it's Auburn and they've won before. And
what Indiana did was unprecedented. I'm telling you, Mark, I had them going 7-5 last year, and I thought I was off my rocker. My explanation was that, Cignetti's never had a losing season, so why start now? He's going to go 7-5 this year with Indiana. And then, when they beat Nebraska, that was the game where I was like, and people forget about that game. Like, people legitimately forget about that game to me, because Nebraska fell apart again, like they always do, but they beat Colorado and people were hyping Nebraska, and Nebraska was favored and Indiana beats them by 49. And then Nebraska went out there, almost beat Ohio State, which I was like, all right, like Indiana's legit here. Like, okay. But I mean, I know in reality, Indiana was not an elite team. They don't have the players, and they still don't have it this year. But they were good last year. They were a good team.
Mm-hmm.
They were good. I mean, Michigan was a good team last year. They just didn't have a quarterback. I mean, that was all they were missing, really. And Indiana beat them. Alabama lost to them. You know, they didn't show up in the bowl game, but Saban would never let that happen. But, you know, I just think, like, Indiana, that was a special thing. And it's something I never would have thought that I would have witnessed in my life. Being a Alabama fan who roots for Indiana for some reason. I never would have thought they'd have made the playoffs. Like, it was insane, Mark. I'm still blown away. I don't even think I've actually talked to you about this. Like, it's been, like, months. I haven't called in way too long. It's been way too long.
No doubt. Well, I'm here, Jeffrey, every day at 4 Eastern. So anytime you want to call
Absolutely. Back. My work schedule is crazy. I'm usually always working and busy around this time. So that's a big reason why. But there's some days I can pop in. I need to come on more. It's been great chatting football with you, Mark. Again, it's been a long time.
Absolutely. Well, good to see you, Jeffrey.
I appreciate it, Mark. You have a great rest of your afternoon. Appreciate it.
And we'll see you guys. Oh, that's right. We saw you last night on the Alabama show.
Absolutely.
So
yeah, and also to point out the recruitment, I think I might be able to hop on that with Jackson later. The recruitment watch party at 7:15. We're doing it with the Michigan channel, the Texas channel, and there's one more I'm forgetting right now. But for a player, Malachi Lee, I believe. I'm sure Jackson will. I'm sure Jackson will point it out when he comes on. He's just waiting.
Yeah, we got Jackson hanging in the wings here.
So,
all right, Jeffrey. Good to see you, man.
Definitely.
All right. Before we get to Jackson, Super Chat's coming in. We appreciate, there's Jackson right there. One question for Jeffrey. Who is mid in your eyes? Well, you guys can chat that up at some point. All right. Minnesota Dave, I don't get excited for verbal commits, but if Minnesota can sign these guys, this could be the best class in a long time for the Gophers. Well, Dave, I would have to say I'm unaware of Minnesota's prowess this year on the recruiting trail. I'll have to catch up with that at some point. We'll have to get our buddy Daniel House in the house to break down some Minnesota for us, which reminds me, we're right about the time, early summer, although shoot, we're going to be into July next week, where we will start to, at least on the shows that I host, although that has dwindled down to Ohio State, Iowa. Do I host any other show? Miami. That will start to get some media from the 2025 opponents in to break some of these games down. But we'll have some Minnesota representation there on the Iowa channel here in the next few weeks. Adam, Jeffrey, in your view, what are the 3 keys for Bama to win it all? I guess I'm going to play Jeffrey now. Mark, Drew Aller has no class. I still don't even know what that means because he threw an interception. I guess any quarterback who has ever thrown an interception has no class. I'm still not putting those two. Adam is a lot smarter than me. I am in no way a mental equal to Adam. But equating class, at least the way I define class, and throwing interceptions, I never really equated those two things as being the same. Everything I've seen, as I define class, Drew Aller has carried himself with nothing but class. All right, folks. So we appreciate you being here. We'll get Jackson on here. Jackson, what's going on?
It's going pretty good. Just staying busy and keeping on rocking and rolling.
I see that.
Yeah, because I mean, like that question for Jeffrey about him wanting to know who's mid in his eyes. I always like to mess with him about that because, like, at some point we're gonna have to get like a compilation of Jeffrey saying the word mid. It's perfect for TikTok, right there.
Okay, so that's a Jeffrey-ism.
Yep.
Who's mid?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
It's just too funny, but Yeah, like we'll have to talk about the top 25 SEC players since that's part of the title of today's show. The
We
75th.
certainly can.
Oh yeah, because I mean, I've got to feel like Ryan Williams is in that top 2, top 3 for sure. So,
All right,
Lenore
let's
Sanders.
see
Oh,
what we got here.
Oof.
Let me get this. Oh my goodness. I can't get this stuff off the screen. We'll get there.
Oh man. Well, Jim R is asking how many days. Well, it's 57 days until week 0 between Kansas State, Iowa State, and Ireland. 62 days till week 1, 63 days till Auburn, Baylor, Colorado, Georgia Tech, 64 days till week 1 Saturday, 65 days till Notre Dame, Miami, South Carolina, Virginia Tech, and 66 days until start of the Bill Belichick era between the North Carolina Tar Heels and the TCU Horned Frogs. You're welcome, Jim R. Anyway.
Okay, Jackson, I'm going to run down the list. You just jump in there and start talking anytime you want on any of these players. And we'll start with number 1, Lenora Sellers, South Carolina quarterback.
Well, he progressed a lot in in the last 6 games of the 2024 season. He almost beat, like South Carolina almost beat Bama last season. Like that game was, we got lucky against the Gamecocks on that one. Like,
and if he doesn't miss the second half of the LSU game, they probably win that game and go to the playoff.
Agreed.
Linebacker Anthony Hill of Texas. Now, I certainly know who this is. Watched him play. He's an exceptional player. I'm not going to say that I've studied tape on Anthony Hill to know that he's this good, but apparently he is.
Oof. What? Wonder who's the writer of this article. Like, it's interesting.
Let's see. So we've got this one coming from Manny Navarro.
Manny Navarro. Okay.
Wow. Caden Proctor,
Lord.
of course, the famed 5-star who signed at Alabama and flipped on Iowa on signing day, and then went back to Iowa after his freshman season at Alabama, and then left Iowa after about 6 weeks and went back to Bama. And here he is after having a second-team All-SEC season in 2024. Colin Simmons, defensive end at Texas, and there's Ryan Williams, which, considering the quarterback situation at Bama last year and Jalen Milroe being more runner than passer and being a great downfield threat, throwing the ball to Ryan Williams. I know he caught 48 and 8 touchdowns, but I would expect his productivity to skyrocket this year.
Well, and especially since he's going to have Isaiah Horton with him, and you're going to have plenty of other receivers, and you got Brody Dalton coming in from Troy as the tight end. So it's not all going to be on Ryan Williams this season.
Keldrick Falk is a defensive lineman that in my Auburn preview, I highlighted quite a bit. I didn't realize that he was quite this good, but man, 6th best player in the SEC, according to Manny Navarro. Garrett Nussmeier, 12 interceptions last year. It would be nice if he cut down on that figure just a bit.
He better cut down on it because the first few weeks are going to be really tough, especially when you're going against Clemson and Florida in the first 3 weeks of the season.
Dylan Stewart was a monster in his freshman season with South Carolina last year. The only thing that I will say here, though, just as a hesitancy, would be not that he's not going to be exceptional, but with all that South Carolina lost up front to the NFL draft, he's going to be the target. There's going to be double teams all over the place on him. Whit Weeks is a linebacker at LSU that had like 125 tackles last year. Jake Slaughter at Florida, I talked about him in my Florida preview. Most likely the best center in the country at Florida. I know you know a lot about LT Overton, Jackson, playing off the edge for the Tide.
Ooh, he's going to be a monster. I think Castellanos is going to learn what it's like going against him on week 1. That's going to be a fun one on ABC at 3:30 p.m. Eastern time, especially having to see Castellanos deal with Mr. Overton.
More great defensive line play coming out of the University of Georgia, as they have just owned that position in the last 5 or 6 years. John Mateer, it'll be quite interesting to see how he translates to the SEC after accounting for 44 touchdowns last year, and Michael Taff at Texas.
I feel like Oklahoma and Clemson are a lot similar. Like looking at 2024 Oklahoma and 2010 Clemson, they're very similar in so many ways. Like they both lost in a crappy bowl game. Clemson lost to South Florida in the Mikey Car Care Bowl. Oklahoma lost to Navy in the Armed Forces Bowl. Dabo was kind of on a hot seat entering 2011. He had a stay of execution, so to speak. Brent Venables had a stay of execution. Dabo Swinney fixed his offense for 2011, got Chad Morsby as OC, and we saw Clemson turning things around against Auburn week 3 of 2011. Little did anybody know it was going to be a surprise season for the Clemson Tigers that year. Oklahoma could be having a similar type season for 2025. Not saying they're going to be going SEC title or anything, no worries. But if the offense can really get rocking and rolling, John Mater is going to have a lot to do with that on that front.
So, Jackson, for me, Cam Coleman's similar to Ryan Williams, that if they can fix the quarterback play with Jackson Arnold, most likely, I know Deuce Knight is the future, and then they also trying to remember who the it was right in my head a second ago, who would be competing with Auburn with Jackson Arnold. Anyway, I just lost the name, but he's most likely going to be the starter. And I just think with better quarterback play, Cam Coleman could go off. He's exceptional. And they picked up Eric Singleton from Georgia Tech, who should take a ton of pressure off of him and coverage away from him. Arch Manning's the first guy in this list, Jackson, who's got no track record or next to no track record, but I have no issue with him being roughly a top 15 guy.
Yeah, like the Manning family is kind of like the royal family. It's like, and I mentioned it a little bit on last night's edition of the college show, where it was like 2011. All you heard about was, Prince William's getting married. Prince William's getting married. That's what it's like with the Manning family. You're going to hear a lot about Arch Manning. You're going to hear about his siblings. You're going to hear about the daughters of Eli Manning. You're going to hear so much about the Manning family, because it's kind of how it is, like with Archie Manning, Eli, not in the 90s when Peyton was like, no, not going to Ole Miss. Everybody talked about what a traitor he was. But then a few years later, Eli's like, I'm going to Ole Miss. You didn't hear anybody talking about what a traitor Peyton was. You're not hearing anybody talk about that with Arch Manning. They're just kind of like, it's all right. But it'll be interesting to see what happens for 2025, because there's been a lot of debates, including Texas at the Voice of College Football, Matthew Miller. He's been getting in some tussles with Graham Coffey on Arch Manning.
Jackson, it was driving me nuts trying to figure out who the Auburn backup quarterback is, because it was right in my head. Ashton Daniels, the former Stanford starting quarterback, that's who they brought in to compete with Jackson Arnold. Jalen Kilgore, South Carolina, really good player in the secondary. I talked about him on my preview video. You got Jermod McCoy from Tennessee playing corner. Santarine Perkins, linebacker at Ole Miss. You've got an edge rusher in Mason Thomas for Oklahoma.
Oof. Yeah, I would not want to go up against Thomas. Wonder if Diego Pavia is in this top 25.
Well, we will soon see. He's running out of spots. The Vandy tight end who is a former Texas A&M quarterback. He's been around for a long time.
Oof.
And DJ Lagway shows up.
You ranked Lagway at 22nd. Good grief. I mean, he's higher than that. I mean, at least put him at 15.
Dalen Everett, quarterback from Georgia. Tyreek Sapp, the defensive lineman from Florida. And at number 25, you've got Will Lee from Texas A&M with 10 players to watch. Let's see who we've got here. KJ Bolden, Georgia. Deontay Lawson, Bama. There's Diego Pavia, Vandy. CJ Allen from Georgia. Harold Perkins from LSU. Now, there's a guy that has been one of the 5 or 10 best players in the SEC. We'll see if he can come back from an injury. And Eric Singleton obviously comes in from Georgia Tech. Zachariah Branch from USC. Austin Barber up front for Florida. Caden Green, the guard from Missouri. And Caleb Banks, Florida. Okay. That's your list.
Yeah. That is the list, so to speak, from Mr. Maney at The Athletic.
All right, Jackson. Anything else you got for us today?
Well, later tonight at 6:15 p.m. Central Time, 7:15 p.m. Eastern Time, we're hosting another recruiting commitment watch party. Malachi Lee, Coach Smoot, myself, might see Jeffrey on the Alabama channel tonight. Matthew Miller, Gerald Goodridge are representing the Texas channel. Matt Green, who you see on Georgia Live and frequently on the Chase Thomas podcast. You'll be seeing Bo Underwood as well on the Georgia channel. John D'Animo will be representing Michigan, and you'll be seeing Kentech 615, also known as Eric Wiley from the Michigan Call-In Show and Maze Madman. And you'll be seeing Juju coming in as well. Juju and Eric Wiley will be subbing in for TJ because TJ's on vacation, but I can guarantee you it's going to be a wild ride tonight, 6:15 p.m. Central Time, 7:15 p.m. Eastern Time. This will be the second watch party for commitments throughout the Voice College Football Network. And I got a feeling there's going to be many more coming your way. Because I thought to myself, 247's doing a few of them. On3's doing a few of them. Why not the Voice College Football? And I told Mark, let's do something like that for each of these team channels.
Jackson hosted our initial one just last night. We had our contingent in from Illinois, Alabama, Ole Miss, and Ohio State. And that was a rousing success. So we had a great time. And Jackson, that was phenomenal. And a lot of people jumped in the chat and jumped online that don't normally catch those channels. So I think it's going to be a good thing for us to expose ourselves to different audiences. So that was awesome.
Well, I thank you, man. I mean, you're the man who greenlighted the idea, and I thank you so much for that.
Well, thank you, Jackson. I just didn't expect the second one to turn around this quick. So appreciate you doing that tonight. I will may not be able to check it out live, but I'll catch up with it at some point, probably overnight.
Well, after I get done with that, I'll be working on another thing as well. When I get done with that other thing, I'll probably be sleeping a little bit, but before that, I'll probably be watching a little bit of either Marshall Dillon or Jim Hardy on Tells Wells Fargo, just kind of relax.
All right, Jackson. Appreciate you.
Y'all stay safe. Stay away from that heat. It's miserable out there.
All right. We are past time here at the Voice of College Football. We do have a call. We'll give it about 30 seconds. I got to run. Burks, what's going on today?
Hey, Mark. What's up, man?
Not too much. What's on your mind?
So about that question about the top 10, all I just wanted to ask, since you have to go. So my phone cut when we called. I talked to you like 2 days ago about the stadium, like which stadium has the biggest home crowd, home advantage, the loudest. What do you feel like it is like your number one stadium? That's all I wanted to know, really, because we didn't get to that.
I personally think that nobody is truly qualified to answer this question unless they do one of two things. Either they've gone to every stadium and they're taking the question on from that standpoint, that they've experienced it in a big game, or if you want to run the metrics, and nobody has done this, and I approach situations and questions like this from a statistical standpoint most of the time, or at least I start there to say, okay, who is proven to have the biggest home field advantage of anyone in college football? But nobody can answer that question because nobody's done the work to put that in. And that doesn't mean that you got the best winning percentage at home, because the best teams have the best winning percentage. So that's not a true measurement of it. So I am only going by anecdotal evidence and by what I see on TV and I've been to very few of these stadiums. So I think that LSU, Iowa, Clemson. I think most of the SEC stadiums outside of Kentucky, Vanderbilt, and Mississippi State, only because of size limitations, would be off the list. But man, you turn on any SEC game on a Saturday night, whether it's from Auburn or Georgia or LSU or Tennessee, or pick your spot, and the place is going wild. But those are the first ones that come to mind.
Yeah, no, that's just like what I would probably say as well. I feel like Iowa is the biggest. And just last thing I just wanted to say was like Washington Huskies Stadium. Their stadium is loud as hell, because I don't know if you noticed this, but their stadium is built where like a lot of noise, right? Like Seattle Seahawks, and it's actually the loudest crowd it ever had recorded ever. Believe it or not, Washington Huskies. I think it was like in 1980 or stuff. But that's what I just wanted to say. They're a sleeper, I feel, and I think their answers are pretty similar to mine. I would probably say those teams as well.
Well, I know Husky Stadium, I think, was number 18 on that list.
Yeah, I disagree, man. It's total bull crap. I'm sorry.
Or you think they should be higher?
Much higher. They should be like top 10. Not even a question, especially when they were good. Like they would win all their games, and they even upsetted Michigan, and I had them upsetting Michigan last year because I felt like the home crowd of the Huskies and, Michigan's offense not looking, even though Michigan should have not won, I felt like that was an upset game, and it happened last year,
That was an upset?
Yeah. Huskies beating Michigan last year.
On the point spread? That was an upset?
What?
Was it really an upset?
Yeah, it was. Wasn't Michigan favored to win?
If they were, it was by 2 or 3 points, maybe.
Oh, I see. Okay. It was I thought it was like by a touchdown or...
Well, we'll find out here. You might be right. I remember I picked Washington to win the game, but
I picked Washington too, and people got pissed off at me, but they don't realize how loud and crazy Husky Stadium is. And I just felt it was a bad matchup as well, so
Michigan was a 4.5-point favorite according to AI.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah, they're a top 10, for sure. I think Huskies are, they're just not good right now. But
the only thing I would throw into that, though, me personally, we all have different criteria, is do these people show up when the team's not good, i.e. Nebraska? Like if Washington, from what I've seen, and I might be wrong, when they're throwing out a 4-8 season, there's 15,000 empty seats. And there's not 15,000 empty seats at Nebraska and some other stadiums when they're lousy.
That's true. But that Michigan game, it was full.
I understand that. But part of it would be, do you show up when your team's no good? Are you Wisconsin and you show up even when the team sucks and pack it out? Because that's part of my estimation.
No, well. I 100% agree with you on that. 100%, not even a question. But yeah, that's basically all I just wanted to say. So thank you for the answer, and have a great weekend, Mark.
I appreciate it, Burks. You too.
Yeah, you too. Take care, man.
So we got a big week planned for next week here at the Voice of College Football. We are going to do our very best to get to the all-time program rankings. Also want to get to national championship review. So again, that's going to be like a all-nighter, going to be here breaking down national championship races till the beginning of time, till Rutgers and Princeton, 1869. So I'm going to do that. Maybe a few different shows. I may not be able to pull like a 15-hour show. Even if there's like 8 people watching me, I will still do it just because I want to. We got our Big Ten live show. Crank it up the week of Big Ten Media Days. Corey, Brad, and myself. That'll be every Tuesday at 5 Eastern. It's going to be a segue right from this show to our Big Ten live show Tuesdays at 5 Eastern. And let's look real quick, man. I got to run. Let's get to, I want to show you the latest from our watch party. These are not final results. You can still vote. Let's see what we got for the watch party. Are we going to be watching another Michigan win on the watch party? It looks like we are. So with 173 votes cast, we're going to watch the 2024 Rose Bowl, Michigan and Alabama. That's going to be our July watch party. At this point, unless somebody makes a run at it, that would either be Ohio State fans, Georgia fans, or Clemson fans, apparently, would be the best candidates to do that. So the July watch party is still on the table. Please vote. It's on the front page of this channel. And that should do it here. I should probably make it a little bit more clear. I state this from time to time that we basically have an hour to do this show from 4 to 5. I can be coerced and coaxed, not today because I have plans, but generally I can be coerced and coaxed to stick around. Wink, wink. Let's say $100. Wink, wink. To continue the show to make it worth my while. So appreciate you being here. Otherwise, unless something happens over the weekend for us to go live, I will see you Monday at 4 Eastern.